Disclaimer. This video is for entertainment purposes only. Do not attempt this at home. Vitiated how to will not be responsible because you decided to be a cheap ass and not hire a professional.
On with the show.
Alright, today we're gonna try not to get banned off YouTube, and I'm sure it's gonna piss off a generation, but that's alright. You ass clowns need to hear it, and this generation are mostly the ones that watch my channel, so you guys need to be educated a little bit. There are 4 types of class in America. It's just a fact of life. You can argue, you can bullshit, you can whine, you can cry, but it doesn't change the fact of what they are. We all know the fucking rich. Then you got the working class. You got the minimum wage class, which used to not be so bad. It was more along the lines of the working class, but now the past 4 or 5 years it's became the minimum wage class, and I'll discuss why later. And then you have, I don't know how to say this and not get banned. This class used to be called something else, but it's the class that decided to have kids and can't afford them. You got the Section 8, you got the EBT, you got the ones that draw Social Security on the kids, and the WIC and all the other stuff because they made choices about having kids when they couldn't afford it. So we'll call it, I'm not sure how to say this. I know what it's called, and I've lived it when I was a kid for a long time, but if you say it on YouTube, then they're going to ban your ass. We'll just call it the last class. Then that way I won't get hit for the damn video. Alright. So, we all know about the 4 classes now. Okay? And fact of life, this is a fact of life, because I've seen it for many years, and I've known a lot of people. Whatever class you're born in, you're pretty much going to be stuck in it. Why? Because you are a product of your environment. You are raised by this class, so you're going to be brought up in the class, and you're going to live through the class. Not always. There's always exceptions to every rule. I mean, hell, there's been rich people been poor as hell. I mean, I've met people that were rich and they were poor as a motherfucker because of the bad choices they made, and their parents wouldn't give them no more money. And I've met people in the last class that have became rich. I mean, I've literally met them. So you're not 100% stuck there, but it's a good 90% because we are all products of our environment. So with that out of the way, we're going to talk about some things. First of all, it's going to be the 3 classes. The rich, whatever. The other 3 is the important part. You need to understand, in order to get out of one of these 3 classes and move up to the next one, you have to be headstrong. You can't be a whiny ass. You can't expect people to do shit for you. You can't expect all this other dumb shit that people are expecting nowadays, expecting to get paid for a 40-hour work week and you only want to work 20. I mean, come on now. Or working at a fast food joint and expect $30 an hour. I mean, be for real. There's a reason why the food's cheap. Because it's an up and coming. And I'm going to explain about these classes a little bit. Because I've been in all 3 of them except rich. I ain't there yet. I'm working on it, but I ain't there yet. First of all, the last class. I grew up as a poor motherfucker. Why? Because the person that was supposed to take care of me was more worried about what she stuck in her nose and her mouth rather than the kids. So she was on Section 8, food stamps, WIC, and some other shit. Why didn't my dad pay child support? Well, she kept disappearing. He tried. She didn't want it. She wanted to live off the system. Why, you ask? because she was raised in the ghetto, raised on the lower class. My grandparents started out on the lower class, but they moved up. They actually did. They moved up out of the ghetto and into a working class, and they did really well. Their child just couldn't let the ghetto go, and she felt more at home in the ghetto slums than she did in the working class. To each their own. Some people, that's how they are, but she wasn't raised that way. So there's that. So I went from that class to the minimum wage class. I was in a minimum wage class because I had just started out work and I was 19, 20 years old. I didn't know my ass from a hole in the ground when it come to working in the work field. There's things I knew because of what my dad taught me and what I learned as a kid. I learned different things because I was working as a teenager through different programs where they help you get a job and they teach you things. I was cleaning and buffing floors in the school. Another place, I was doing auto mechanics for part of the summer, and I was doing word processing and some other shit part of another summer. So there's different things I learned, but I didn't stay in a minimum wage class very long, maybe 6 months. Because once they realized that I knew what I was doing and I caught on quick, I went from making minimum wage to making almost as much as assistant managers. Just because I show up on time, I did my job, no matter how fucking wrong it was, I followed directions. And I tell everybody when I worked for them, I would do exactly what you said to a fucking T. So if it's wrong, it's your fucking fault, not mine. Because I did what you said, not what I thought. And people learned later on not to do that. Let me figure it out. So I moved up to that. And then I went from that. I fiddled around there for about 6 months. And then I got up into the working class. Was I still working at minimum wage jobs? Well, kind of, sort of, yeah. I still worked at places like Taco Bell and McDonald's and different other things. I tried to get better jobs, but because I had long hair, lots of piercings and tattoos, and I had an attitude from hell, as you can tell most of my fucking videos. I don't care. And that really was a hard sell because back then tattoos wasn't accepted. Neither were piercings. So I ended up in a construction job. And I ended up doing really well, making a good, decent living. But it wasn't enough because I was greedy. And yeah, I know I could have had a better education, but school just really wasn't for me. I mean, I don't know. I had problems as a kid learning. I had to teach myself everything because I'm left-handed, and the teachers wouldn't take the time to teach a left-handed person. So it was really hard, and I get aggravated and frustrated, and fuck you, I'll do it myself. So I went through college for a little bit. It just wasn't for me. Not saying it's not for everybody. If I'd have made better choices, I probably would have got a better job. But there's my problem, there's my issue, and I made choices I made, and that's where I went. Am I mad about it? Not at all. Do I regret it? Not at all. I mean, it kind of sucks because I'm disabled and I'm fucked up from it. But that was my choice, and I knew the consequences when I made the choice, what was going to happen later on. I wasn't stupid, and I wasn't putting it off and say, oh, it's everybody's fault. Choice I made. I understand that. It is what it is. So, moved on up in the world. I got greedy, so I started working 2 jobs. I did, and I still wasn't making minimum wage, mind you. Even though it was a minimum wage job, I still wasn't making minimum wage like the rest of the fucking idiots were. Because I did my job like I was supposed to. So I do 50 hours to my day job, and I do 35, 40 at my second job. What, Squirt? My damn dog. So, which that was okay with me because there was things I wanted. And every time I had a girlfriend, I was broke. I ended up quitting one of the jobs. Fuck that shit. Stupid idea. Anyway, so that was my decisions that I made. So I moved up all 3 classes to the working class, and I did really well. There wasn't no regrets about it. Wasn't no problems with it. But many of you seem to think that you can work in a minimum wage class job and expect fucking $21, $22, $23 an hour for a job that is completely mindless, and many can't even count. I have been in fucking convenience stores. Now, mind you, I worked in convenience stores on and off for 15 years. Hell, the first 6 months I worked, I learned it caught on quick. The register figures it out for you. And once you see 2 plus 2 is 4, that constantly seeing that every day, 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week, it just automatically sinks in unless you're a fucking moron. If you're a moron, then there's a 50-cent 9 that'll take care of that problem. But anyway. And over time, I caught on. I was like, well, this, and this equals this. So this is what you owe me. And I caught on pretty quick to it. I mean, everybody, all of us did. Because it was a day in and day out job. So it wasn't that fucking hard. But still, it's still kind of considered an intermediate entry-level job for somebody just starting out in their 20s. Because under 18, you can't work in a convenience store. Because of the liquor, the beer and wine and different other things. And they can't prosecute you for stealing if you're not 18. That's why fast food restaurants are good for underage people that are under 18. That's why it's a starter job. And all of you ass clients that are trying to make a fucking career out of it, being a cook instead of being a fucking assistant manager, or trying to be a cashier instead of being a general manager, that's your own fault. It ain't nobody's fault because you ain't got enough sense to walk up the ladder. I mean, hell, when I worked at McDonald's, I met a guy, he was my manager. This motherfucker started from the ground. It was kind of a fuck up too. But he ended up being a fucking manager. He did really good. And then there was another clown that I knew, and he was happy with making the fucking minimum wage. He got to get stoned, he got to make a little bit of money, and he didn't care. I mean, that's how it is. And then there was a 12-year-old that would come in. She would come in, I think, 6 hours a week, 2 hours a day. And she was starting out trying to do things. So, I mean, there's different levels of that. But trying to think you're going to make X amount of dollars in a little pissy-ass thing, or being in the last class and think that you need to get all this fucking shit given to you without doing hardly anything is fucking crazy. I'm not saying that you need to go out and do what I did and work 90 or 100 hours a week. No. But you need to have an education of some point. The electrical, 5 years, and then you're a master electrician. Okay. Plumbers, I think it's 4 or 5. I can't remember. But the electrical, you have to work for somebody for 4 years before you can go to school. But you can also be trained under somebody for 4 years and go pass the test. Either way. Plumbers, I'm not for sure about. I got to ask my buddy about that. But I think it's 4 years or some shit. I don't remember. And then one of my wife's friends is a fucking engineer. He's damn near got a fucking doctor's degree. He's a fucking genius. He just ain't got common sense. But he's a fucking genius. I met another fucking engineer. This dude was a fucking genius too. Wasn't real. Smartest person I ever fucking met. This guy was fucking smart. But he was a fuck up. He just fucking, he liked his drugs and he liked partying, and next thing you know, he was too old to get a fucking engineer job because they didn't want him. He was too old. He was too busy partying and shit. And then there's that. You got to kind of watch where you're going with it. Because the working class, they used to call it the middle class, but I call it the working class because it ain't middle anymore. It's where it's at because you got the 4. That's everybody that's not rich. And to me, everybody that's not rich, if you ain't making fucking $1 million a year, you ain't fucking rich. Flat out. You just ain't. So that's kind of a big thing. Goddamn cold or something from South America. Anyway. Like I was saying before, I know I kind of got off track a little bit. You're not always stuck in these classes. I'm proof of it. And there's other people I know that's proof of it. You just got to want it. But if your parents raised you that way, then it's going to be that way. Another little example. I used to do Section 8 housing. I was a maintenance person for a buddy of mine's apartment complex, and it was all Section 8. I have seen 3 and 4 generations Section 8 motherfuckers. I've seen the little motherfuckers when they were kids. Little kids. They growed up and got on fucking Section 8 just like their mom and grandmom did. And same kind of douchebag that their mom and grandmother had. Some fucking drug dealer that was out of fucking jail, or some sorry ass person that just didn't want to work, or some deadbeat dad from somebody else's family with them. I mean, so whatever their case was is why they were where they're at. And if that's for you, I mean, that's for you. I lived it. Fuck you. I will be homeless in the motherfucking woods before I ever go on Section 8. Ever. Fuck that shit. That is a miserable fucking life. And all these ass clowns that glorify it in fucking rap songs and shit like that, that's because their fucking parents got a lot of goddamn money from a lot of goddamn kids. That's the only reason. And it's still a rough life, because I knew someone that had fucking 6 kids and then was on Section 8. And it was miserable for the kids. And every one of them kids turned out to be fucking douchebags. Just like their mother. I ain't gonna say her name because she swore something down. I reported her and I didn't. Somebody else did. But still, I mean, if that kind of life is okay for you, that's fine. But don't bitch about it when you don't get the shit you think you need. Like the minimum wage, everybody thinking they need $20 an hour. Well, if all you motherfuckers, and I know I'm gonna hear about this, if all you motherfuckers didn't take the $600 a week, and I'm talking about the last class and the minimum wage class, because most of the working class didn't get that money. They was making more money at work. Then why the fuck would they stay home? I mean, most of the working class made more than $600 a week. Hell, when I was working, I was making $800-900 a week. There's no fucking way I was going to sit home on my ass and collect $600. You got me fucked up. You got me fucked up on that one. And the chance to make more money? That's why it was everybody across the board was mostly in the minimum wage class and the last class that got the $600. And you guys thought that shit was going to be free? Ha ha. Hell nah. We all are paying for it. The only motherfuckers that ain't paying for it is the rich people, because they don't give a fuck. Because they make enough money. Keep raising it. You ain't hurting me shit. But now the working class, you guys about killed them motherfuckers. Because I know somebody right now that's in the working class that makes $15,000 a fucking month and is having a hard time because of the inflation. And before 2019, they had 4 kids and 2 parents, and they didn't have a problem with that money. It was doing fine. But when everybody that was making $7.25 an hour was getting $600 a week and didn't want to go back to fucking work, where do you think the inflation was going to go? Somewhere else? And you think I'm full of shit about it? Go look up every 10 years about the inflation. There's some ass clown on TikTok. He didn't realize what the fuck he was doing. And it showed an inflation every 10 years, clockwork. Every 10 years, the inflation goes up a percentage. I think it's like 5 or 10%. But what he kept arguing, and he wouldn't look at his own bullshit, is from 2019 to 2023, the inflation went up 15% in those 4 years. So what changed in all those 10 years that was different in those 4 years? The minimum wage class and the last class got $600 a week for almost 3 years. Hell, still around here, they're still getting some of that shit. Because right now, where I live, you can fucking work for Walmart 1 week, any place around here, for 1 week and fucking quit and get fucking unemployment. Bullshit you not. So, of course, they're going to come after after working class for the money. So they raised the inflation. And right now, I think it's fucking McDonald's is, last time I seen it, McDonald's number one was $15. And 2019, a number one was $6.50. So there's that. Didn't mean to kind of run off a little bit, but it is what it is. But you work hard and don't be a whiner. You can succeed in anything you want. Anything. I mean, look at Denzel Washington. Look at fucking Morgan Freeman. Some of them motherfuckers. I mean, some of the actors and shit started out fucking Sylvester Stallone. Man, they started out at the fucking bottom, almost in my level bottom, and they've done really good. You just gotta want it. You ain't gotta kill yourself to want it. Something my uncle always said. My uncle was a mason. Fuck that job too. I mean, he was a real mason. That you do blocks and mortar and you build fucked up crazy ass shit. Work smarter, not harder. That's why he was able to do what he did for 40 years. And it didn't kill him. We're kind of suffering for it now. But it didn't kill him like it did most of the others. So, on that note, have at it.